In any successful application, sooner or later, we'll have a need to migrate a third-party service dependency. Let's make that concrete. Let's say we use a customer relationship manager, or CRM. We have an application with many users. It talks to the CRM when a new user creates an account, or they upgrade to a paid subscription, or they cancel, or any number of other user status updates. The CRM, in turn, handles sending out onboarding emails, or reminders to complete their account setup, news, surveys, whatever is most appropriate to the state of a user's account. But as our app has matured, our needs have changed, and we've decided to switch from one CRM provider, let's call it CruddyMail, to another, which we'll call Eventatron. Each CRM has its own unique API, and the APIs don't just differ at a service level. Our old CRM is built on the assumption of receiving CRUD-style updates of contacts with their associated metadata, mailing lists, and tags. The new CRM is built on an event-centric model, where user lifecycle updates are passed along to the CRM as uniquely named events. A migration like this calls for some careful sequencing.